Hello and welcome to another session of Late Night Games. Today is Friday and today we are playing Vampire the Masquerade. Now this won't be our every Friday game. This game will actually likely replace I Am Alive when we finish with this. But I just want to get a first look at the game, and by first look I mean create a character because it's quite extensive with the Vampire the Masquerade series. Vampire the Masquerade is based on a pen and paper roleplay system. I'll explain as we get into it. Answer a series of questions about the vampire you would like to play and allow the game to create your character, or go directly to the character sheet. I will go directly to the character sheet. Alright, so the first thing that would need to be picked is your clan. Now, there are several clans in the vampire world. There are the Brujah, who are basically like the rebellious fighters. They're one of the more physically active. The Gangrel, who are closest to their inner beast. The idea that a vampire has a beast within them. They have a lot of abilities, such as the ability to... well, it's different in this game from normal, but with a Gangrel, they'll typically have abilities that are very animalistic, whether it's summoning animals or bringing out animal qualities in themselves. There's the Malkavians. The Malkavians are all insane. Every Malkavian in the World of Darkness world starts with some kind of psychosis or social disorder, and they're one of the most fun to play in a role-playing setting. Not so much fun to play in a video game, but their ability of being insane is quite nice, and they have the ability to do what's called dementation, which is spreading their insanity to others. There are the Nosferatu. The Nosferatu are the ugliest of the vampires. They are the ones that were beaten with an ugly stick repeatedly and then violated by said ugly stick. They themselves are a walking violation of the Masquerade. Now, what the Masquerade is something enacted by all vampires to attempt to keep from allowing humans to know vampires exist. Vampires themselves are in a secretive society, and they've existed alongside us for millennia, and we don't know about it. And it's because of the Masquerade we don't know about it. However, a human sees a Nosferatu, and, well, they immediately know something's wrong. Now, the Nosferatu have the ability to actually use what's called, I believe, obfuscate, which is the ability to hide and go invisible, stealth. They are the stealthiest of them, although when visible, they're the most horrific. There's the Toreador, which are the pretty boys of the vampire world. Typically, if you were to find a Toreador in society, they'd be like the ones running fashion shows. They'd be the upper class. As to their abilities, I've never actually played a Toreador, so I don't know what their special ability is. There's the Tremere, which are one of my favorite. These are the blood mages of the vampire world. They are the only vampire clan which remains connected to the old school magics. And the reason they are able to use blood magic and why they're mages is they didn't start as vampires like everyone else. Everyone else, the vampire clan came from vampires in history. The Tremere created their own vampirism. They were a group of powerful and brilliant mages and wizards and smart people who ended up creating their own clan of vampires. They invented their own vampirism. And apparently the ritual the Tremere used to transform from living mages into undying monsters stripped them of their magic arts, which is why they developed thaumaturgy or blood magic. And then there's the Ventrue. If ever there's going to be a vampire as a president, it's going to be a Ventrue. They're the businessmen. They're the people who control the world from behind the scenes. Typically in a group of vampires, the Tremere will be working for the Ventrue. The Ventrue will command the power of the Tremere under them and command the rest of the vampires under them. Typically the Prince will also be a Ventrue. They don't necessarily trust the Tremere, but they understand the Tremere's strengths. Now, that being said, Tremere are also very picky, very finicky. If they feed on something like a low-life human or a prostitute or someone who's lower class, it can actually make them ill. They need that upper-class blood to actually be able to sustain themselves. Alright, so let's move forward and create our character. I'm tempted to create either a Gangrel or a Tremere. So let's go with a Tremere. A Blood Mage. I can go as a male or a female, obviously. I'm going to go as a male. And history. These histories are who I was as a human, which gives you a slight boost. This is something that doesn't exist in the actual game story, or the actual game world. It's just something that's in the video game. The Old Timer, it costs more to raise your computer knowledge, but you start with a bonus in scholarship. Country Club, Lothario. Hubby might be pulling down 7 figures, but you got an empty day planner and a grin that drops panties like putts on par 3. Swap the priority order of your attributes to social, physical, and mental. Alright, so typically mental is one of the highest attributes for a Tremere. This allows you to negate that and reassign that. Swap the priority of your abilities to skills, talents, knowledges. Being a con artist, typically Tremere have knowledge, I believe, as their highest ranking. And what it means by ranking is when you're starting out, you get a certain amount of points, and each clan gets a higher amount of points in one field and a lower amount in the other. And that's just based on their clan's nature. A more strength-based clan will have more power in physical and less in, say, knowledge, and a medium amount in social. Highway Drifter. You start the game with 1 point in melee, but it will cost you more experience to buy humanity points, and you're more likely to frenzy. Frenzy is when you lose control. The beast within takes over, and you just go completely insane. Humanity is how close to being a human you are. If you lose all your humanity, well, in this game, you lose. In the World of Darkness games, you may survive, but you're gonna be one horrific-looking beast. Eerie Presence. Most vampires have no problem fitting into mortal society. You don't know what it is, but you just can't pull it off. It costs less experience to raise your mental attributes, but it costs more experience to raise your social attributes and your stealth ability. So, some of these are named the same as feats and weaknesses you can take in the game. Now, in the actual World of Darkness role-playing game, there are way more options. You can take penalties, which give you more points to put into your skills, similar to how these are working. Deceptive Strength. You used to be quite clumsy, but the Embrace gave you a natural reserve of physical power. You can never raise Dex and Perception above 3, but when you use Blood Buff, it lasts longer. So that makes me less dexterous, less perceptive, but physically stronger when I buff myself. Eldritch Prodigy. You have a natural gift for the dark arts of thaumaturgy, and you can use it to greater effect than most Tremere. Thaumaturgy is your all-consuming passion to the exclusion of nearly every other pursuit. You start with 1 extra point in thaumaturgy, however you suffer a 1-point penalty to any experience award of 3 or more. So I don't get as much experience, but I get a bonus point in Thaumaturgy to begin. Infernal. Your forebears paid an awful price in their quest for power. The deal still holds, and you'll continue to pay for all eternity. Advancement in Thaumaturgy costs you less experience, but Auspex has half the duration, and you may never raise Dominate above 3. Auspex is an ability that several clans have, not just the Tremere. Each clan has 3 abilities, one that's unique to their clan, and then 2 others that are shared amongst multiple clans. Auspex is perception. It's the ability to hear at long distances, see fine details, improved eyesight, things along those lines. Domination is your ability to use your vampiric presence to just make people do what you want. Affinity for magic. You've always liked magical illusions and even performed some tricks yourself as a kid. Now that you're amazed magic is real and thus can easily advance in Thaumaturgy. On the other hand, you have difficulty learning all other things. So Thaumaturgy probably costs less and everything else costs more. Discipline and order, tactics and warfare. These are the reasons why you joined the army. Not only did you fit in perfectly, you excelled in the military. Swap the priority of your order for physical, mental, social. So that would make you a physically strong Tremere as opposed to a mentally strong Tremere. I am going to go with... I am going to go with... Actually, none. I'm going to go with a vanilla Tremere. Alright, so here's the main screen. You start with 1 point in everything for your attributes. I then have 2 additional points I can put in mental, 1 I can put in physical, and 0 I can put in social. That would be a mental, physical, social is my order of stats. Now, perception increases ranged and inspection. Intelligence increases research and intimidate. Wits increase defense and hacking. I'm going to go with perception. And intelligence. And next level I'll go with wits. I also will put 1 into strength. Give me unarmed and melee +1. Now I also get 3 knowledges, 2 talents, and 1 skill. My 3 knowledges I'm going to use scholarship. 2 points in that. And 1 in computer. Skills, I'm going to go with security. And talents, I'm going to go with dodge. And subterfuge. And my disciplines, I have 1 point in Auspex, which is level 1. It adds 1 point to Wits, reveals the auras of living and undead within a short distance, and lasts 20 seconds per activation. Dominate, superior strength with vampiric mind allows your character to control the minds of weaker kind and even some kindred. Kindred are other vampires. Dominate effects are covert actions. They cannot be traced back to you and carry no risk of violating the masquerade. And Thaumaturgy, blood magic. The vampire practices of Thaumaturgy can bend blood so powerful at terrible ends. These effects are spectacular and obviously supernatural. These should not be used in safe areas, lest you risk violating the masquerade. Alright, so level 1 of Dominate is trance. The target momentarily sinks into a deep trance. Taking any action against the target will wake them. Level 1 Thaumaturgy is a projectile will strike your victim. If the victim lives, the bloodshot will return with stolen blood from your victim. Nice. Level 2, since that's what I should worry about is level 2, since I have a point. Level 2 Auspex adds a point to perception as well. Reveals living and undead within a modest distance. Dominate costs 2 blood. All enemies within a small radius will think you've disappeared. And Blood Purge, enemies near your character will become violently ill, vomiting blood, damaging both normal and supernatural foes. You know what? That sounds pretty badass. I'm going to use magic to make you start vomiting blood. Alright, and we will accept... Oh, you have not named your character yet. Alright. I'm going to name this guy Loki Ramos, which you may see is a pattern with me naming characters. Let's watch the intro.
I want to show you something.
And that is that.
Good evening. My fellow kindred, my apologies for disrupting any business or interfering with prior engagements you may have had this evening. It's unfortunate that the affair that gathers us together tonight is a troubling one. We are here because the laws that bind our society, the laws that are the fabric of our existence, have been broken. As Prince, I am within my rights to grant or deny the kindred of this city the privilege of siring. Many of you have come to me seeking permission, and I have endorsed some of these requests. However, the accused that sits before you tonight was not refused permission. Indeed, my permission was never sought at all. They were caught shortly after the embrace of this child. It pains me to announce the sentence, as up to tonight I considered the accused a loyal and upstanding member of our organization. But as some of you may know, the penalty for this transgression is death. Know that I am no more adjudicator than I am a servant to the law that governs us all. Let tonight's proceedings serve as a reminder to our community that we must adhere to the code that binds our society, lest we endanger all of our blood. Forgive me. Let the penalty commence. Which leads to the fate of the ill-begotten progeny. Without a sire, most childer are doomed to walk the earth never knowing their place, their responsibility, and most importantly, the laws they must obey. Therefore, I have decided that this is bullshit! If Mr. Rodriguez would let me finish. I have decided to let this kindred live. They shall be instructed in the ways of our kind and be granted the same rights. Let no one say I am unsympathetic to the plights and causes of this community. I thank you all for attending these proceedings, and I hope their significance is not lost. Good evening.
So that fellow speaking was the Prince, and as you can see, the vampire culture there's not a lot of trust. There's a lot of subterfuge. There's a lot of people talking behind people's backs. It's just the way vampire culture works. It's like the most
Your
catty.
Tragic. My apologies. But you see, there is a strict code of conduct that all of us must adhere to if we wish to survive. When anyone breaks these laws, they undermine the well-worn fabric of our centuries-old society. Understand my predicament. Allowing you to live makes me directly responsible for your subsequent behavior. So, what I'm offering is not generosity, but the opportunity to transcend the fate woven by your sire. This is your trial. You will be brought to Santa Monica. There you will meet an agent by the name of Mercurio. He will provide the details of your labor. I've shown you great clemency. Prove it was more than a wasted gesture, fledgling. Don't come back until you do. Good evening.
So as I was saying, that was the prince of this region. What it meant to sire is to create another vampire. The vampire who created me didn't ask permission, and as such was executed, if that wasn't clear. This being said, these are rules that were set in force by this prince. Each prince owns a particular region, particular area, and they set the rules for their area, but in general, all the rules are to maintain the masquerade. And here I am now. I am now unarmed.
What a scene, man. Ooh-wee. They just plop you out here like a naked baby in the woods. How about that? Look, it's probably a lot for you to take in, so, why don't you let me show you the ropes? What do you say?
Who are you?
I'm Jack. What's important is I'm offering help. You make it back from Santa Monica with your hide, and we'll trade life stories, okay? Till then, I got about this much time. You in or out?
Okay, I could use the help.
All right. Why don't we, step out back here?
I like where I am. At least I'm out of that theater.
Nice and stuffy in there, huh? This is much better. Now, we ain't got much time, but I figure somebody should fill you in on the bare bones stuff at least. Could save your hide. You look wobbly. You even had a drink yet?
Drink of what?
Oh, man, we're popping a cherry here. Oh, you're gonna love this. All right, check it out. Blood, it's your new rack of lamb, your new champagne, plus your new fucking heroin, kid. Get ready, though, because, hey, it's never as sweet as the first time.
What do I do?
Well, down around the corner there, I saw this human, or else hope you can't find his car.
So, what do I mean,
Alright. You go down there, casual, right? You creep up on him, then bare those little fangs and feed. Don't worry if you weren't captain of the wrestling team or something, because it'll come so natural you think you've done it 1,000 times already.
won't he become a vampire then?
Forget that comic book crap, kid. It don't work that way. Now go for it. Be sure, though, and this is important, so listen up. Be sure not to drain him dry, okay? It might be hard to resist, but don't kill him.
Alright. This is your blood pool. Blood is the fuel for your vampiric powers or disciplines. When your blood pool's low, you need to refill it. Humans are an abundant source of blood in most areas of the game. One is in the alley around the corner. But that's where we're going to end it today. Thank you very much for joining us here in the beginning of Vampire the Masquerade. And when we come into normal rotation with this, we can join the new vampire, Mr. Loki Ramos, as he stumbles through the world of the vampire, which he's been haphazardly thrust into, not knowing what's going on or what's in store for him. Let's name it. Done. Okay. And that is that. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Late Night Games. Make sure to check us out on Facebook or Twitter. You can also check us out on Facebook or Twitter. Wow, I'm getting really bad at this some days. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter. You can leave a message for us down in the comment section, or subscribe to this channel if you want to keep up to date on all our future releases. This has been an introduction to Vampire the Masquerade, and I've been your host, Paul. We'll see you next time.